The speakers who will be speaking to the issue. And we are here today in regards to the tape that was released. That taking them, they said they stated they couldn't put it out in 24 hours under the old administration, and that the new administration had something different with policy. However, when we saw whomever watched the tape, it was much to do about nothing because we didn't even see any evidence that they had to hold back as far as sharing to the community. And what we witnessed didn't tell us much of anything. And then we did not see as far as was the ROTC camera used, was the dashboard on the police cars used. You know, the way they came up to that garage and they act as if they had everything preliminary, that they were in control, and he even touched the garage and stating that we got this, but they never identified themselves. They never said whomever that was in there, and they knew they were young people, some juveniles. So if you have weapons, drop them, come up with your hands up. We didn't see any of that. And what we did see with the video camera, which was probably tailored and cut off, that we didn't see everything, it's just that his hands was not on the trigger at that time. But we are supposed to believe that it dropped and they shot someone, especially two or maybe three, and someone in the back. And this particular officer that now has been identified, and we also want to know the other officer that was with him. But he already has a record in regards as far as being an experience out here on the street, his length of time within the department. He came to an area that he was scared, and that he used his weapon negligently. They want to say unintentionally, but he was negligent as far as how the weapon was used. And for it to fall and then to shoot someone, and they were running away. And this particular officer has a history because he's the same one that shot a mentally ill man, and that the weapon used was a knife that someone else had that threw away, and he came in using language unbefitting the officer and shot this man multiple times. So he is someone I don't think we even want on the force, and he's on paid leave in our community. And we have a right. They keep saying, why are they yelling with these juveniles? But the community failed to understand that they coming into a marginalized, impacted community. They already have an attitude as far as we are 3/5 a person, and we don't have a law that they have to respect when they come to us. We have come as far as how they deal even with men who are California Community Center helping young people, and they looking for a suspect, and he will become the suspect because he's black while working. Yeah. And so then we have witnessed how officers have shot somebody with a mattress, shot them with the handcuff, shot them. I don't care what the situation is in the West End, that if you are black, you are a suspect. Right. So this is why we continue to raise the issue in regards to accountability and also transparency with LMPD, because it's not happening. They said that they had to wait and look at this particular tape. Even the family did not get to see before they released it to the public. And they think we're supposed to accept anything they have to say, that we are just blindly going to accept whatever they tell us when it's affecting us in our community. So we will continue to raise the issue in that regard. And I also want to bring a young man up, Keyshawn Johnson. And each person, when you come to the mic, please identify yourself and spell your name for the media.
How y'all doing? I'm Keyshawn Johnson, a 15-year-old student at Central High School.
The megaphone, if you can't project your voice.
Yeah, it should be good. Check 1, 2.
How y'all doing? I'm Keyshawn Johnson, spelled that Keshawn, Johnson, John. 15-year-old student at Central High School, the vice president of the law class. And today I was called to represent the youth on how do we feel about police safety and how do we feel when we are around police. And that's the same as asking, would you like to go to a therapist that never been through anything mentally? No. They do not identify as what we identify as. They have not been through what we have been through. And that's like, they are putting people from the suburbs into the hood area and expect them to know how to treat us. We may react to certain situations with the attitude, but it's not because we want to harm something. It's because we never been taught a different way to react to situations. And with that being said, when the police may look at me as a black man just because I have long hair, I wear different styles of, I dress a certain way, I look a certain way, but they don't know what I have achieved. I have passed the Crown Act ordinance here in Louisville, Kentucky. I am the vice president of the law class at Central High School. I have my own clothing line. I have received a full-ride scholarship to the University of Kentucky, but they don't know that because they already have a certain demeanor when they approach me.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
My name is Demetrius McDowell. I represent an organization called Bosses Not Bangers, and Keyshawn is a prime example of why I came up with this name, because it's a statement. We're not all gang bangers just because we look a certain type of way. And definitely our police, being negligent as they are, like Keyshawn said, in our communities, they're policing us and have no relationships with us. Like they have this thing about already meeting us with aggression because they scared. I don't know what their background consists of, whether the high school they wasn't treated well, and not to throw any shots at them, but if you're not familiar with a certain type of creed of people, then you don't know how to approach them. Like, I wonder why we don't have certain officers patrolling our own neighborhoods who look like us, who can identify with us. And if you can't identify with us, then how can you protect us or serve us? And I come from that same background, God willing, that I made it here today, that I could have been any one of those juveniles that been shot because I was into mischievous things. But that my past doesn't define my future. And if you kill one of us as a young age, we'll never be able to define who we really are and develop our full potential. And we'll never be able to reach that point with officers or any type of legislation that doesn't relate to us. Like, to be honest, the Declaration of Independence wasn't built for black people. It just wasn't. That's the facts. And if y'all not going to redo that, then y'all need to redo the police that patrol our communities. And just like Keyshawn said, looking at them by his hair, those officers who come from those neighborhoods who don't relate to our neighborhoods is going to take them to be a certain type of individual. But at the end of the day, like he said, he owns his own clothing line. He's a boss, not a banger.
Greetings. Can you hear me? My name is Grandmaster Khalid Rahim. I'm the founder and director of the Arabian Federation Martial Arts Academy, the Arabian Nights World Competition Team. I had 15 kids that were supposed to come today, and my kids sat down with me this morning early and asked me, could they not be here? The parents asked, could they not come up today because they didn't want to be a mark for the police officers in retaliation for what they're standing up for. I got a problem with that. I have a problem with the officer never saying once in that video, I shot somebody. My firearm went off. Never once said it. They never once identified themselves as police officers. What they're dealing with, what we are seeing unfold right now is they put a cap on us as parents. And we can't discipline, we can't mold, we can't teach our children, but we love our children, we know our children, and we don't fear our children. But when we can't put into our kids what we know they need to survive in these streets, then they run amok because they know that we can't hold them accountable to our rules. But society holds us accountable to the rules that they want. If they don't go to school, they come after the parents. But if we jump on them or get on them or take something away from them for not going to school, then we're being negligent. But they don't know them. They don't love them. And they don't know how to interact with them. Unless they got their guns out and shooting. How do you teach martial arts when your children that you're teaching or the students that you're teaching is learning from a hospital bed or they fear you? You can't. The teaching has to coincide with the learning capacity of the person. Then teaching and learning can and will be accomplished. We know our children. We carried them for, our women carried them for 9 months, and then we raised them together. You have no part of raising our children, even in the educational system. Everybody is failing us. Everybody has failed. And I'm saying until we get back together and hold everybody accountable for the upraising, the conditioning, and the training of our children, we will not have a future. And right now, the transparency is not clear. The teaching is not clear. The understanding is not clear. And we as people, humans, citizens of this society, it's not clear who we are. It's not clear what we are. You just treat us how you want to treat us, and that's how it's going to be. We will not stand for it anymore. We've done the thing about take our streets back. Let's take our kids back. Let's take our unity back. Let's hold those who are so-called in control accountable. And they need to be accountable according to what we know we need. You can't come and tell us what we need, and we're here. You read a bunch of books or you talk to some people behind the corporate doors, and then you come out with a plan and you have not talked to us. We're crying out. Right now, the police department is infected. It's not going to take a Band-Aid to fix it. We have to go in and find out what the problem is before we can start changing everything. And we have to stop having a meeting to have a meeting to have a meeting to fix it. Let's fix it now because we can. We can fix it. Give us our children back, right? Yeah. Give us our control back of our families.
Yeah. Wonderful, colleague. Wonderful. Very good. Very good. Pool streets! All streets! Pool streets! All streets! Pool streets! All streets!
My name is Mel. I just want to speak directly to mainly LMPD. I just want to speak to LMPD directly. We was at the meeting.
Please use the megaphone.
Please use it. Come out.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to speak to LMPD. Last week I was at a meeting with the Bishop's Table with Assistant Chief Humphrey and Colonel Healy. And I had a conversation with them. And quite honestly, as my brother just stated, the meetings that we've been having in this community with the cops and the city has gone on quite long enough. And there's not really any change. At this point in my life, I feel like, and I'm not even that old, but I just feel like it's pointless. Either you're going to be transparent and hold yourself accountable or you're not. I told the assistant chief and the colonel that you all will never gain the trust and be able to work with the community if you won't start with yourself first. Asking the community to be accountable and asking the community to be transparent is like asking kids in a household to be responsible and pay bills while the parents do not. You have to start with the leadership at the top. And at some point, you have to decide whether or not you can even feel like anyone in your office can do wrong. If you can't start there, then there's no point in coming to the table for a conversation. You all use words, and Assistant Chief Humphrey got out there the next day, 24 hours later, to use words such as unintentionally discharged. And then he was asked verbatim, asked point blank, how did the gun accidentally discharge? Was the trigger pulled or did the gun drop? And he never answered the question. And all of us in this world that have guns know a gun doesn't go off any other way except for the trigger was pulled or it was dropped. The officer did have his finger off the trigger when the video started, but at some point the gun was no longer in the video, and they don't want to claim or just point out the fact that he pulled the trigger. That's the only way those boys were shot. I also told the colonel that day that if this officer was able to shoot these boys with one bullet in multiple places, he has no business working for LMPD. He should be working for the feds instead. Why is he working for LMPD if he can do something like that? But again, that just goes to further point out the fact that he did not just shoot one bullet if multiple people were shot. Also, they talked to anybody in the community to ask what they heard over there. There were people that live in that neighborhood where they asked if they heard multiple gunshots or not. Again, the verbiage that they use and want to hold people transparent and be accountable is what the LMPD is not doing themselves. So to keep having these conversations about accountability and transparency when it's something that you're either not going to or you refuse to offer to the community is pointless. Either you're going to do it or you're not. We don't want to wait 2 weeks for a video to come out that is edited, which again proves that you're not being transparent. You're not being accountable if it's transparent and it's edited video. Also, the fact that the officer who did it is not being held accountable. At what point do you decide that an officer can do wrong? At what point is any of their actions deemed fireable? Assistant Chief Humphrey told me that they have been firing officers that do things wrong. I said, at what point do you show the community? Perception is reality.
Yeah, that's
Perception is reality.
That's right.
And if the city and the community does not perceive that you are holding your own accountable, then the reality is you are not.
Say your name.
Very good, son.
All right, my name is Lily Maurer, and we're here once again because LMPD has made another dumb, stupid decision, which has led to somebody else getting hurt. LMPD continues to make mistakes, and they go and they lie about it. The LMPD needs to start getting held accountable because now there's another kid, 2 kids who have now been shot again. They continue to do things that led to people either getting hurt or killed, and we cannot let this go on any longer. This officer needs to be fired because even though somebody may not have died in this instance, this will lead to somebody else dying, and we cannot let this continue to go on. People cannot continue to be getting killed by the police for not doing anything. And how does a gun go off? You claim that you didn't shoot these kids, but yet you got 2 kids that show up later in the hospital being shot, and then you go and you say, no, we didn't shoot these kids. Well, a gun doesn't go off on its own. You have to pull a trigger. So it's just another form of LMPD going out, lying, saying that they didn't do what they did. It's just, it's got to end. We can't do this anymore.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I'm K.A. Owens. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, along with Dre Dawson and Tyra Walker, Treasurer Tia Edison, and Secretaries Greg Tishner and Dana Iana. Greg is here with us today. This is the first test, really, as far as policing in the Greenberg administration. And so we'll see whether or not he rises to the occasion or not. So what we're being asked to believe is that, well, it was an accidental discharge, nothing to see here, keep it moving. So far, that's what we've heard. But I know of one situation where a firearm did not discharge, no one was shot, and somebody is serving 7 years in the federal pen, and that is Grandmaster Jay. So I would like for Mayor Greenberg to make a statement saying that he would like to see Grandmaster Jay released because it was the Louisville Metro Police Department that originally filed charges against Grandmaster Jay. So, also, I do not want to forget our brother Quintez Brown. I don't believe that Quintez meant to shoot anybody. It was a small room. If he wanted to shoot somebody, they would have got shot. I would like to see the mayor stand up, and I know this is going to be hard, and say, look, I'd like to see Quintez get a second chance at life. So I would like Mayor Greenberg to do that. Do have some from our friend from El-Surge, Carla Wallace. She says, talking about the announcements as far as policing the mayor's made, instead of investments in community-based mental health and substance use services, and economic supports and affordable housing, he is investing more in policing and youth detention. Policing and mass incarceration are the same Jim Crow-rooted solutions that have been used for 200 years, and it does not equal more community safety. And this approach guarantees that racism, targeting of the poor, and more violence will continue. And that's from Carla Wallace of El-Surge. From Tia Edison, who's treasurer of the Alliance, could not be here. She's very much concerned, the Alliance is very much concerned that House Bill 538 that just passed the House floor that kicks kids out of school at the same time they're putting $50 million into a new juvenile facility, but still have not funded mental health, restorative justice, and conflict resolution resources for students. The Kentucky legislature funds the punitive and defunds the restorative. That's from Tia Edison of the Kentucky Alliance. So we need to keep the pressure on. We want some better, way better policies coming out of the new Greenberg administration. And we need to look them in the eye the next time we see them and say, hey, look, you're being tested every day, particularly on policing and other issues. And we're the ones who do the evaluation. We're the ones that decide pass or fail on the mayor's policies. So pay attention across the street. Pay attention across the street. Pay attention. All right, I'm Kay Owens for the Kentucky Alliance. Thank you so much.
We have Chanel coming up next, but I just want to make the media aware that we have a father, a parent here. He does not want to speak. However, he wants you to know that at the time that the incident report, his child was not put on there. They will leave you. They want to lead you to believe there was 2. Actually, there was 3 who got shot. Even though they're saying it was not fatal, for them it was fatal because they got shot. So, but at this time, and also that they were not allowed to see the tape before it was released. So again, LMPD, where is your transparency and accountability?
Hey y'all, I'm Chanel Helm with Black Lives Matter Louisville, strategic core lead organizer. I'm not really interested in LMPD transparency because they're already showing you what they can do and what they don't want to do. We can continue to keep begging or asking and meeting with people who are going to continue to keep molding and creating what it is that we're going to get each and every time if we don't build what it is that we need. Community care, community safety, and community defense has to be there first so that we can even prove that we have power to tell somebody else who's militarized, guns, weapons, different types of options. I actually hold a kids program down at Shawnee Library because of some allegations of violence from the children back in October. So we've been holding that constantly, and I had the kids with me that day. As we were coming down Broadway, one of the mothers of the children hit us up and said she just saw a boy run who had been shot, and he's been shot by the police. She was very, very nervous, and we rushed our way down there. There was nobody at the Shawnee Library, but police were like scantily crawling. They looked like roaches, right? Roaching their way around the neighborhood. Small kids were still outside playing. They had detectives walking around, putting tape up, taking tape down, making scenes, not making scenes, over and over again. And the kids kept asking why. I'm trying. The kids keep asking why, and nobody answered them. So on Wednesday, I held a forum only for them so that they can ask the questions and to really be heard in like what was confusing for them. Those kids aren't here today because they live at 39th and 38th and Broadway. That's where they live at. That's where they play at, and there is nothing there for them to do. When we talk about what we want children to get into or what we need for them to do, scholastic and sports are not the only thing. They deserve joy. They deserve a place to hang out. They deserve a place to just chill, and that's what they want, and that's what they've been asking for. So when we talked about it, they did ask, why did the police pull a gun and did not put it away? They saw y'all. They wanted to know why their friends were shot. They wanted to know, what if their friends had died? What would you do then? You are watching what they would do, and we watch each and every time they do something instead of doing something. Instead of organizing power within our communities to make sure that we protect ourselves, because they're not going to do it. That's right. That we educate our children on what their rights are. You do not have to be detained by the police without a parent. You do not have to answer any questions of the police because that is your right. And I'm so thankful that that young boy did not say anything to the police for as many hours as he was tortured in that car without his parents, and said nothing because that is his right. And I'm hoping if you're an adult of a young child, regardless of what age they are, some of these kids are 8 years old up to 18 years old. This happens to them every day. Every day. We are very much lucky that we got those investments shot out of that ordinance on Thursday night. Greenberg, you really tried it, but you're really working my nerves. You really are. Nobody asked for them. Nobody asked for them. I'm not going to say I don't care about certain people having wellness, but right now our communities have none. They have nothing. Our social workers, our therapists, counselors are overworked. Our schools are overworked. And then you thought it was cool to holler about we're going to invest in LMP. Ain't nobody asked you for that shit. Ain't nobody asked you for it. There's not a roller rink, any type of joy down there, any type of entertainment system. The boys are asking about gaming rooms and stuff. The girls are asking about what about other programs that they can utilize that don't have to do with church or school. These are the things that they're asking. They're saying these things.
Don't forget what we did today. Today's history. Don't just go home and say, hey, let me post it. Live it. To change, we just have to be stubborn enough. We just have to be strong enough. We just have to be relentless.
How do we fix it? If there's something you don't see or there is something that you think needs to happen with a law, you can change that because this is the state we live in. Because we have that power. You were born here, you can do that shit. So we've been taking the kids down to Frankfurt. They've been meeting their legislators. They've been talking to other folks about what it is that they want to see, and it isn't on somebody else's agenda. They want a roller rink. They want a chill room. They want a chill park. They want all these different things, and they're hearing them say that. And they're thankful that the kids are showing up. They'll be at the Metro Council meeting next. But if you try it again, it will get knocked out again. No more LMPD investments at all.
That's right. All right. Thank you. Woo! Representative.
I am former State Representative Attica Scott, and I have a message for Mayor Craig Greenberg. In 40 days, you've done a worse job than Greg Fisher did in 4 years. I taught at Bellarmine and at JCTC, and if I were scoring you or grading you right now, you would fail, because you have failed our community. For nearly 2 weeks, we waited for the body cam footage to be released. And in that time period, we heard multiple lies from LMPD. Lies that Mayor Greenberg backed up by rewarding them, or trying to reward them, with millions of dollars for a new facility and a wellness center. And what did we get on Friday? An edited LMPD hype video. Because that's exactly what it was. Like Ms. Rhonda said, it told us nothing. Absolutely nothing. Mayor Greenberg, you have not issued any kind of apology to the families. You are not treating people with dignity and respect. I am here for and with my community. I don't know the families, because I know that my demands are going to be different than theirs. My demands are community demands. I demand that when police either shoot someone or their gun magically goes off by itself somehow, that the body cam footage is released within 24 hours.
Yes. Right.
Now, it's a written policy, not just something that changes from chief to chief. And our chief, our interim chief, until David James gets the job, has said that there are some people who are posting messages that are jaded against LMPD. Well, Chief Villarreal, at me next time, because I'm jaded against LMPD. I demand that instead of spending millions of dollars on a new headquarters and a new jail and a wellness center when you already have one on First Street, LMPD officers are not too good to use the Metro Government Wellness Center that already exists. Use that money for our communities. That's COVID relief money. That is not a rescue plan. That is a plan for disaster. And Mayor Greenberg, you need to make sure that when you're talking about training officers and officers being trained, that includes dismantling racism. We're talking about all these institutions and systems being full of institutional and systemic racism. But see, far too many of the people who look like me practice plantation politics. And they've given you and you and you and you and you a pass. Either because they benefited financially or they got positions in the administration. But see, plantation politics is over. We're going to do and say what we need to do because this is about community. Much love to the families that have been impacted. I'm here for the larger community that is impacted every single day. And it goes unchecked. Mayor Greenberg, you've turned off your voicemail. You're not even accepting calls from people anymore. You're not even allowing them to leave messages. That is not transparency. It is not a new direction for Louisville. In fact, I feel like we're going in the same direction we were going when we protested in this very spot in 2020. And we will not stand for it. Oh, things will change. Some of us are more fired up today than we were 3 years ago because we saw that everything we did led to nothing. It led to you being in office and being the same thing that we had before, if not worse. Worse. If not worse. 40 days to do more damage than Greg Fisher did in 4 years. Y'all, I can't even. To everybody who voted for that, you should be ashamed. To all of you who decided that a white man in office who was wealthy and a developer was better than a black woman in office who grew up in poverty. It's on all of you who decided that that was better than what we could have had. Ms. Rhonda, take this mic because I'm done.
When do we want it? 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 Now! Very good.
I just wanted to jump back on here. When people are talking about what you can do around like why the police is taking off or why he's off and still getting paid, that's written into a police contract. That is governed by two other entities, the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, and their foundation. So there are nominal, big top Fortune 500 companies here, including PNC Bank, UPS, Thornton's, who sit on a foundation that help pay for weapons and all type of things and protects the FOP when they put up something. So that contract is very much important. There is no transparency around any community members or even council members getting to see that contract before it gets signed. Remember, the police are not a part of the city. They are a contracted force that is in part of the city. So if you want that change, please check out the 490 Project, who holds that accountability around whether or not we as a community see that contract.
At this time, if the media, if you have any question by anyone, feel free to ask. Any questions? I can't believe y'all don't have any questions. Where they made it plain, didn't they? So the community that has been neglected, with poverty, impacted, marginalized, and been brutalized by LMBD, whatever their name is, multiple times, is that we want change. And we know we are the change that we want to see. But I thank each of you for coming out and hearing the voices of the multitude of people. Because had it been somewhere else in the polo fields, what was that? Crescent Hill. You know,
they wouldn't even have their guns out.
They wouldn't have had their guns out. They would have taken a totally different approach.
That's right.
But because it was in Western Louisville, West End, the hood, however they put their names on it, and see us as descendants of American slaves, that we do not mean anything and we do not count. But we do.
That's right.
And we're going to keep raising our voices. We're going to organize, we're going to mobilize, and we're going to be at Greenberg's door and the LMPD. We are not going away.
Nope.
That's it.
That's right. We will show up,
All right.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Rhonda.
Don't forget what we did today. Today is history. Don't just go home and say, hey, let me post it. Live it.
Listen to her.
change. We just have to be stubborn enough. We just have to be strong enough. We just have to be relentless.
How do we fix it? We didn't break it.
Guys, thank you all. I pass the mic to the next person. Black women matter.
If you do nothing else.
If you do nothing else.
Do nothing else.
If you do nothing else.
If you do nothing else.
If you do nothing